Hi, I'm Monty Salzman and welcome back to Local is Better. Now last week I gave you my framework for a high level of how to grow your business profitably, and I introduced the idea of selling what's on your shelf to your friends all the way down to getting new products and services and selling those to new people as the most difficult. And then I also talked about getting paid what you're worth, which is an area of business that we're often afraid. There's just a perceived lot of risk there, and maybe you don't even feel like you're worth getting paid at the upper end of the market. And then I finally covered value creation by introducing and talking more about ultimately customers buy two things. They buy solutions to problems and they buy good feelings. And my claim is that the more clear we are about each of those specific strategies, the more able we're going to be able to execute with excellence and get our team and our customers having that kind of experience that we know we're worth. So let's take it a little bit deeper. So I want to talk only about quadrant one right now and develop a specific action plan, and ultimately I'm going to ask you to develop a specific action plan for each of those 6 categories, the 4 quadrants of products and services, price optimization, and value creation. But right now, let's go deep on quadrant one, which was current friends and current products and services. So it turns out that if we're going to really put an action plan that's going to stick, that everybody's going to follow the behavior, there's several things we got to step back and look at. So right now, again, we're talking about selling what's on your shelf or on your website to the people who already know you and are buying something from you. And it turns out, if we're going to make a change, we need to address the skills. Do we really have the skills to execute on selling everything in this quadrant to our current friends? Not only you, but does your team have those skills? So this is designed to help you really diagnose, does my team, do I have the skills I need to really execute on that strategy? So I'd ask you to rate yourself up here to, you know what, I really need more of those skills, or we nail it. This helps you figure out what do I need to put in place in my business to be able to execute on. So on the skills to grow by selling everything on your shelf to your current friends, do you own those skills? Have you nailed those skills? If so, great. How about your team? Has your team really nailed it and really know what they need to do to sell everything on your shelf to your current friends? So that's skills. The other thing we got to take a look at is our attitudes and our motivation and our will. So very similar over here, the will, the desire, the belief. Do you really believe that this is a growth strategy? Does your team really believe this is an effective growth strategy? And if not, what do I need to do about my own beliefs about business? Or maybe you already believe you've nailed this and you need to move on. Or maybe you think there's a huge amount of opportunity, but maybe your team doesn't have the desire or the will to do it. So those things have to be addressed. And then the third category I want to talk about on this quadrant right here, sometimes we have the belief, sometimes our team has the belief and the desire, sometimes we've got all the skills, we just nail those skills, but sometimes our environment or our surroundings might be preventing us from getting it to it. So I put another category in here to help you kind of diagnose, are my surroundings, is my environment preventing me or propelling me towards getting this done? And so you're on here somewhere. So it could be, again, man, I've got the skills. My team knows exactly how to do this. I really want to do it and believe it's important. My team really wants to do it and believe it's important. But you know, our environment is just in the way. We've got things that are preventing us from doing it. And I think the next level of going from here, you go through neutral, but I think the place to really get is, does our environment really propel us towards that? So that's the exercise to help you think about and diagnose what's in the way for you when it comes to this category. Now I'm going to show you, I put this up here, it gets a little confusing, but let me walk you through this. I'm going to recommend that you do the same thing with the same discipline for quadrant 2, which is selling new products to your current customers. Then repeat the same thing for quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, and pricing. Ask yourself again, do I really have the skill set that it takes to know how to get my prices optimized? Does my team have that skill set? Do I really believe it's possible? Because if you don't believe it's possible, let's face it, you're not going to do it. The other hurdle and the other thing you need is you got to have your team aligned. Maybe you've got all these things, but maybe your team is going, you know, we just don't believe we're worth it. So that's a specific conversation and training session with your team. And then finally, does your environment, does your computer system, does your website prevent you from being able to maximize your price? Or does it propel you towards being able to really optimize your price? That's a biggie again, but walk yourself through that and diagnose where do we think we might, where do we nail it versus where do we need more of that? Same thing down here with value creation. Do you have this real clarity? Do you have the skills that it takes, you personally, to make your customers feel great when they walk through the door and leave? Does your team have that? Do you believe it's important? Does your team? And is there something in the environment either preventing that or propelling it? And then finally, solving problems. Do you really have the skills? Does your team have the skills? Do you really want and believe it's important? Does your team? And then a question, does our environment prevent us or propel us towards it? So that's the diagnosis. I know that's a lot going on there, but work through this at your own rate, and I would take them in this order here, Q1. Honestly, I think I'd go next to price optimization. That's the biggest lever that you really have available to you to grow your business profitably, and work through that one. And again, all of this is based upon this foundation, what I call again, the golden rule of value creation. So, some questions to help you diagnose this and put your action plan in place, and that is, first question, what will I or what will we do to change where there's a gap up here? Get real specific about that. Write it down and make an action plan. And then, how are my or our skills will and or surroundings, and what do we need to change there so that even if we've got all this nailed, this could prevent us. So how are we going to address our surroundings? And if I were to walk into your building, do your surroundings really convey and radiate that this is important to you? Remember we talked about how are you going to radiate when I talked about the laser? How are you going to radiate in getting those surroundings, your skill, and your will all lined up along with you and your team is the key to really getting that unity in your business. So once again, thank you for joining me here on Local is Better. If you like these videos, please hit subscribe or like or share it with your friends. See you next week. Thank you.